Good morning. Let me add my thanks to Trimuliani for her overview of the big themes, opportunities and challenges in development cooperation today. And let me also welcome you to the 2012 Cape Conference, Old Puzzles, New Challenges, New Pieces, Development Cooperation in Tomorrow's World. This is the 7th Cape Conference and the first in our new offices, so welcome again. As Alison mentioned, I lead the Centre for Aid and Public Expenditure here at ODI. My job this morning is to introduce very briefly the conference and the main themes in the programme for the next 2 days. The conference title alludes to two dimensions. First, the puzzles. These puzzles are the context of development cooperation, development challenges and development opportunities. They cover vitally important residual issues, such as poverty reduction. They also embrace other critical issues, critical global issues vying for global attention: climate change, fragility, resource scarcity. Some are long-standing, others are more contemporary. These puzzles, as we're terming them, provide the canvas and the objectives for global development action. Second, the pieces. These pieces, as we're defining them, are the array of actors engaged internationally and at country level to support development. They include the national and the subnational governments and non-governmental actors across a range of economies, be they fragile, less developed, emerging or advanced. They include traditional providers of official development assistance, as well as the newer philanthropic and private sector agents. Emerging economy development partners are, of course, a very important growing part of this number of pieces. So the purpose of the conference 2012, the conference today and tomorrow, is to look again at development cooperation against the backdrop of current and future global development objectives. It's an ambitious goal for a 2-day conference, but a vitally important set of issues to discuss and debate. We want the presentations and the debate to do two things: to help us better understand the evolving nature of development cooperation. And beyond that, we want to try hard to draw out more clearly some of the implications of these trends for policy and practice among development actors. The focus that we've taken for this conference on development cooperation is intentionally broader than just development finance. We also want to cover some new forms of development cooperation, or to non-financial forms of development cooperation: technical assistance, knowledge sharing, technology transfer, partnerships. The focus doesn't explicitly cover some of the wider areas of economic cooperation and trade, but those are, of course, relevant issues that we'll touch upon. You will have seen the framing paper, I hope, in your packs by colleagues Romley Greenhill and Gideon Rabinowitz. This sets out for our discussion or debate over 2 days 4 interrelated questions. We've separated them for the purposes of discussion, but we recognise that they are multidimensional, the issues that we're going to cover over 2 days. So let me briefly describe the logic of the programme over the next 2 days. Today, we're going to hear next on visioning the future of development cooperation. The key question here is, how is development cooperation likely to change in the future? And how can the main actors prepare for that future, those future scenarios? We're going to look at major global trends in development, disrupting influences on business as usual, and the readiness of development actors to respond. Secondly, we're going to look at, this afternoon and later this morning, new actors and new flows, as we're terming it. What is the scale and impact of new actors providing development cooperation that we hear so much about? We'll examine 4 major forms in particular of what we're terming aid-like flows. First of all, South-South partnerships and cooperation. Secondly, finance for climate change. Philanthropy and person-to-person giving, and social impact investment. That will take us through a full day today. Tomorrow we're going to begin by moving to the contexts in which these sorts of actors and tools are engaged. Different contexts and, as we just said, some of the different approaches. How does development cooperation need to be tailored to fit these different country contexts? The session will deal with 3 topical points of debate. First, the geographical locus of poverty, much discussed at the moment. Second, the role of aid and development in middle-income countries. And the third, lessons for better engagement in fragile states. And a 4th session tomorrow will look at some of the remaining challenges that we still haven't cracked, that we're grappling with, where new focus is required. The question for that session will very much be, which approaches to aid delivery are most likely to support the sorts of long-term improvements and sustainable improvements in service delivery that we're targeting? And here we'll grapple with issues such as use of country systems, new innovations and results-based approaches, and what is being done or attempted to tackle more directly some of the governance challenges that hinder service delivery. We know that here, particularly at ODI, but also across the people in this room, that better evidence on these challenges and possible responses is an essential starting point for efforts to improve global development cooperation. That's very much why we're here. And to make sure that that development cooperation is fit for the purposes discussed. It's what we're trying to contribute to at ODI, but we're especially privileged to have all of you here with us for 2 days, senior and highly expert group, which will bring this diverse range of perspectives to bear and this rich experience to the topics and questions. On a more prosaic note, a couple of housekeeping points. Restrooms are, I need to tell you this because it's a new building, restrooms are along the corridor on the left. The fire escapes are either the door you came in or straight out at the end. And tea, coffee, refreshments, food will all be served immediately outside the door, so you won't have to stray very far. That's just to keep you recharged in between sessions. Let me now hand back over to Alison and the conference panel, and I look forward to joining you in discussions over the next couple of days. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ed. Thank you. Right. We've heard quite a lot about the changing actor space in development cooperation, the changing partner-client space in particular, perhaps. We've heard about speed of change. We've heard about some of the exogenous drivers of change. I suppose the main question, as Ed implied, framing this next segment and this panel discussion is how fit for purpose is development cooperation currently in the context of this changing space? And how relevant and resilient is it as we begin to chart some of the sort of future drivers of global development? Big question. Some great panelists to help us at least maybe sort of map out some of the contours of that question.